Welcome to the Numerology and the Astrology for April 11th, 2020. So, one of the things I want to say is that I obviously do a lot of writing. And so when I put together these videos, I have actually put it together in a written form, and I put that out on Facebook and my blogs and different places so that people have access to it, because I know that not everybody can afford to have a reading, but sometimes it's nice just to have a sanity check or a reality check. And so I put this out like all these places, totally for free, just to help and support everybody, and I've done this forever, but especially now I'm adding in the videos, because I used to do the videos, like once a month, and I would do the astrology for the month, and I do the intuitive patterns for the month. But now, because of all of this, and I've got the extra time, I'm doing more of these things. And so, yes, there are moments that it looks like I'm reading something, and I am reading something. And because there's so many pieces that I'm putting together with this, I want to make sure I get all the pieces. So I know most of you are incredibly tolerant, and there are a few of you that are very intolerant. And, I'm like going, this is free. You get to have it and put it out there in the world. And it's a gift of spirit. And I hope that you guys enjoy it, and it's fun, and I enjoy doing it. And yes, there are moments that it will probably look like I'm reading, because I have so much in front of me that I'm trying to make sure I get in the door here. So thank you for understanding. Thank you for your patience. No, I don't have a teleprompter, so I have to use my computer. I'm just not that fancy schmancy. So anyway, okay, so we are putting everything together here for, let's see, making sure I've got this right. So yes, the 11th. So we're doing 4/11/2020. If you add all those numbers together, you get the number 10. Now, in the numerology that I do, and I have a book out there that's on Kindle that's called Integral Numerology. And if you have a session with me, you automatically get a PDF copy of the book and a PDF copy of the workbook. And my numerology class is for free out there on the internet on my YouTube channel. So, it kind of works in so many great ways. So if you basically have a session with me, you get the book and the workbook, and then the class makes a lot more sense, even though you can do the class completely by itself. But at least you've got all the reference material that you would like. And I also have a tarot class out there. And so a lot of people have found me because of the tarot, because I did the Aleister Crowley tarot deck, because it's the one that makes the most sense for me and it's the most familiar. But I teach classes on all sorts of things. And I definitely am sort of a smorgasbord person. So I feel that you have to pull the numerology that tells you one thing for the day or the week or the month or the person. The astrology tells you a completely different thing. The cards tell you another thing. The palm tells you another thing. And so I feel like there are maps to help us navigate ourselves and truth. And there are energy patterns in the world that are repeat and are consistent, that if you know how to translate the subtle energy, then you can actually kind of get a handle on what's going on in the world. So that's why I kind of have this smorgasbord of stuff, and I'm pulling so many things together, because some people relate to numbers better than they do cards, and some people don't care about astrology at all and think it's a bunch of hocus pocus dominocus. And I think each tool has gifts and abilities, and I don't think any one tool has all the answer, nor do I think any one psychic has all the answers, because I only have the answers that I understand and can translate. And I think one of the hardest things about being a psychic is feeling something like this situation that is happening in the world right now, knowing that this situation was going to go on, but recognizing that you don't have any reference points for it. So it's very hard to translate something if you have absolutely no reference point for what that is in the world. And, what's interesting to me is that I felt this one, and I knew I should do food storage, and I was preparing for this for a while, and I didn't really understand it was going to be a pandemic, but I understood that everything was going to grind to a halt, and I understood that everybody was going to have to stop and regroup. And I understood that it was going to affect the stock market and the environment. And there were all these things that were going to happen, and it was going to potentially collapse governments and shut things down. And here we are. So it's like, it's sort of funny, like, yeah, pandemic was not the first thing that was on my mind, but I knew somehow we were going to get isolated, stuck, that you were going to need to have food storage. And so my husband laughs at me because he goes, I thought you were losing your mind a little bit, he said, because you were doing all this food storage. And then when this started to happen, he's like, okay, I get it. I totally get it. So I tell you that in all honesty because, psychics are humans and we are doing the very best we can. And none of us have lived through these really intense, crazy times. And translating these things are really hard when you have like zero reference points to work with. So what I try and do, and the reason I do the astrology, is that I kind of look at a map and go, when was the last time Saturn and Pluto conjuncted? And I try and look back in history to see when the last time that happened and what happens in the world during those periods. And then you can kind of get a little bit of a rough idea, like how it's going to work, but you don't get a perfect answer because nothing's perfect in the world and there's all these little subtleties. But I think learning to understand and translate subtle energy messages from the universe is a great goal. And I love all the psychics out there. I love all the healers out there. We need absolutely everybody. And they are translating information based on their energy fields and reference points. And the problem is sometimes they don't have a reference point. And that's what makes it even difficult for them to translate. And it makes it difficult for me to translate. Okay. So the reason I bring all of this up is to, one, in our world, because we're in a 10-1 new beginning power radiance day today, it's kind of like this time to turn over a new leaf. And I think part of the new leaf is to stop expecting perfection or an illusion of what we perceived we had in the past. And to start, really looking at what somebody's heart is and what their intent is and where their come from is. Because if their come from is to cause harm and damage and to hurt people, that's just not good. Especially right now, it's really not good. If someone's intent is to come from a sincere, loving place, I think that, boy, we need as much of that as we can possibly get. So the 10-year is a power, the 10-day is a power day. And we are in a day where it's this opportunity to step up and step in. I know that a lot of you out there say, well, I don't know how to step up and step in. I don't know exactly what my gifts are, and I don't know how to share that exactly. And, what I find is authentic self is powerful. I find that people will pay anything that they can afford to be in the presence of authenticity. And I think that's powerful. I think that's incredibly powerful and wonderful. And, the authenticity aspect of it is the number one in the 10. It's humble, it's authentic, it's sincere, it's open-hearted. The 10, you add a 0 to anything and you magnify it by 10. Okay. That's the way this goes. So, the 10 then says, to express that in a powerful way externally in the world. The 10 can get a little bit arrogant, full of itself, headstrong, self-righteous, indignant if somebody goes against what it says. But that's why I always try and translate things as a 10 and a 1, because I like both sides. I go, yes, I want people to be radiant and bold and strong and courageous and gutsy and step up and step in, which is a 10. And I also, as you're doing that, I would love for people to be raw and real and authentic and sincere and compassionate too. I would like to have both. And I think part of what's been happening in the world is that we're really impressed by power and we're less impressed by authenticity. And I think there's a lot of really amazing people out there that are not flashy and they're incredibly authentic. So the reason I bring all this up about the 10 and the 1 is that it's never been more obvious that we are in a time of tremendous change. And when I look at the astrology for this is going to go on for years. I mean, this is not like a small little change. I mean, I look at this and I go, a breakdown, complete breakdown of an old structure is happening. And there are moments when all that will be no more. And I don't want you to get scared about that. I want you to embrace that and go, cool. I mean, like, so what are we making? It's kind of like I say, let's make dessert. And somebody says, let's do a cake. And I'm like, okay, what kind of cake? And so we're all out there trying to figure out what we're making in this mix. And we have to make a decision, which is the 10. But we also want it to be something that other people can enjoy and connect to, which is the 1. So, in the Mayan, the Mayan, the Tibetan, and the Hopi calendars all ended in the years 2011, 2012, and 2013. In astrology, in 2008, we started a major shift where you are going to see the duality more and more clear. And the conservative right was going to get more conservative. The liberal left was going to get more liberal. It was going to cause a split, and it was going to cause a breakdown of governments and structures and banking systems and financial institutions and businesses and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so we're in that, again, like we're in that in case everybody didn't notice. They would have heard and listened to me talking about this on my blogs years ago. And so the Mayan and the Tibetan and the Hopi calendars said we were entering into a time where the golden light was going to come in. The polar golden light was going to come in and change humanity. And it was, I really believe we're in a shift like the end of Atlantis or the end of Lemuria. I think we're ending a cycle. And from the ashes of this, we are going to create something completely new. And you're going to have to adapt in ways that you probably never even imagined a few years ago you were going to have to do. And it's amazing how quickly a shift of such intensity can happen. And, that's been so obvious. Like, how fast can you tear a country down? I'm like, well, the answer is probably 2 years. I mean, that's, basic. Within 2 years, everything was in play to tear us down. And there is no going back. I mean, you can only choose to go forward, and adaptability is going to be more critical than ever. It's going to be an essential skill that will either make or break you, which is why I keep saying to everybody, look from a place of heart and authenticity. Move from your heart. Do not move from fear. Do not move from your mind. Notice where other people are standing, and don't push them if they're sitting on a ledge. I mean, just would you please let people have their process? You cannot make somebody see something until they're really ready to see it. So one of my teachers said to me, people can only perceive something about a half level above where they're at. And, and I believe that all men are created equal. I believe that men are not created equal. I feel like men have equal potential, but they're not in an equal place. So I may be better at metaphysics than somebody else, but they could be better at, interior design or art or singing or something. And so we're all in a different spot in this process. And this particular place requires a level of consciousness, center, and adaptability that a lot of people maybe haven't had tested. Just because for me, I had to test this over and over again throughout my dance career. It's like, who are you? Are you going to stand up? Number 10, are you going to stand up for what's true? Are you going to stand up for yourself over and over again? And can you do it with a great deal of compassion without arrogance? That's always been this dance for me between the power and the authenticity. And so I'm more adept at that, but I'm not adept at maybe other things. Okay. So this this is the power of this moment. This is this moment where you are going to learn to adapt. You are going to learn to have your center tested again and again. And monumental change is essential for this world that we're creating. I mean, it's just essential. And you are a part of this moment. I mean, some part of you knows that you're here to contribute to that change, and your presence can make a huge difference in the world. And all you have to do is decide that you are here to make this change, and then begin to shift your energy into a new state of awakened clarity and personal choice and power. I really believe that if you decided to be born at this time, some part of you knew that you were going to get to be a part of and witness probably the single biggest consciousness shift that is on the planet. And that means you're here for something. You know, I mean, even if you're here just to catch the wave and ride the wave, let's do that. I mean, because none of us can do it alone. None of us can do it without your energy and help. Like, we need everybody. I mean, it's not like one person is going to have the answer. Now, one powerful person is not going to be able to fix this mess. We need all of us to help do that. And we have to do that with compassion, no matter what. Okay, so that is the 10-1 of today. Now, in the astrology, the moon is in Sagittarius, and it's going to entice you to connect your actions to sensations you are feeling. That might seem like the right thing to do, but my Buddhist self says, feelings are always transient and dictated by circumstances, and feelings are often a defense of your present and past beliefs. And so emotions aren't really real. They feel really real, but they're not really real. And so emotions will tend to flurry and explode out. And so we've got this emotional moon in this idealistic Sagittarius, which means that, you feel that I've got to, let that person know that they fucked it up, right? And I'm like, really, maybe not. I mean, and so, this is that tricky thing. I mean, this is that tricky thing that we're dealing with here. So, those with less self-awareness or self-control can use this energy to lash out at others. And it is very obvious that everyone is in a new and different place at this time. And as such, they are off their edge, and they, all those edges that we used to have to help maintain our sanity are gone. They have been deconstructed, destroyed, blown up, attacked. Lightning has struck them. Like those old barriers and walls of clarity are rubble at this point. So be careful not to add any reason for anyone to become highly charged and reactive around you. This can only lead to more problems. Now, the moon is also sextile Mars in Aquarius. Now, this is happening in the middle of the night, but at this point, I notice there are a lot of people up in the middle of the night, because sometimes I'm up in the middle of the night. So, sometimes you feel these energies that are really intense. And one of the things that I know just from being a Kundalini yoga teacher is that there's a reason meditators meditate between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. And it's because that's the moment your crown chakra is completely open. And if you are waking up at that time, you might want to lay down, open your eyes, and say to the angels, what? Like, why are you waking me up? Like, what's going on? So, there's a lot of things that I'm putting into the astrology simply because some people are picking them up and waking up in the middle of the night in order to feel these things. So, because of this sextile to Mars, the moon is very emotional. Mars is a planet of conflict. And they're both in an air dynamic, which throws everybody into their mind and overthinking. You're going to feel this entire year that we're building energy in more and more air dynamics this year. And we're coming out of this really dense, overly constrictive thing where everything it felt like was in Capricorn. So there's this big shift that's out of the density that we've all been feeling stuck in for years. And while that will leave us feeling more fulfilled at the end of the year, we are being energetically shifted out of old patterns and into new ones. I actually think this is a good thing. I don't think it's a bad thing. I just don't want everybody to overthink it. I want everybody to kind of let the ideas expand and open up possibilities and see how those possibilities align or are congruent with you or aren't. And so, because we're being energetically by the end of this year, we are shifting out of all this heavy Capricorn and we're going into a lot of Aquarius, which is the time we're in. We're in the Aquarian age. And so I think a lot of people that have Aquarian ideas and visions and possibilities are waking up to those and want to put those in to contribute to the world. So this particular aspect today will give some great courage and willpower, and for others it will force them beyond their old places of comfort. At this point, challenging rigid minds is just a terrible idea. It's fraught with difficulties because once the mind is made up, it will do anything, and I mean anything, to not change those perspectives and beliefs, no matter what practice you try to do, no matter how open-hearted you are, no matter how loving you are, no matter how kind you are. You have to recognize that some people are not going to be able to change off their trajectory. And so you have to learn to love people, but you do not have to like them or agree with them or their toxic beliefs. But you do have to respect them and give them the option of their choices and their actions. I also just challenge everybody to not make up a story. I mean, that is so rampant right now, to make up a story about what somebody else is thinking or how somebody else is feeling, because almost always you're going to be wrong. And so let's just stay kind and loving to people. Okay. Mercury is going to sextile Saturn in Aquarius. And this is Mercury is an air planet. Aquarius is an air sign. And so again, it says, let's use some logic and let's concentrate and let's help your mind handle what's happening right now. And so before you jump, consider all your actions carefully and make sure you follow through. While some things may seem like hard work, these are the moments that will help you define who you are and become your promised potential. So for myself, my joke is I pretend to be a gardener. I'm not necessarily the best gardener. I can make things pretty, but like vegetables and gardens and stuff like that, I'm still working on learning that. So for me, learning these things and putting things together and putting fencing together are not my skill set. And that's what I'm doing right now. And it can make me impatient and it can make me short-tempered because I'm trying some things that require a certain type of mental focus that is not my best thing. I want you to try some of those, but I want you to not get too short-tempered or impatient, even though I was the other day. So, explanations of viewpoints don't matter. You might want to step back and allow those who need to react to do that they're on their own. Stay grounded, desire order over the mental chaos of those in fear. Those are the best ways to kind of handle this. Okay, enough of the astrology. Quotes for today. I have 2. I don't care what you believe. I care that you are kind. I don't care what color your skin is. I care that you help those in need around you. I don't care what religion you are. I know that all religions share core truths and values. I don't care if you agree with me. I care that you are on a journey to discover your own truth. I don't care if you are angry. I hope that you will not use that as an excuse to hurt others. I don't care if you want to live in a lie. I care if you force your self-deception on me as truth. So that's the first one. The second one, we are here for a reason. I hope your reason is one that gives you great joy. We are here to learn to love. Love is limitless, eternal, and boundless in its scope. We are here to learn compassion, so we never lose track of what is really important. Okay, so my blog for today is sort of a continuation on a theme of this, the 10-1 thing. So I continue to be just totally shocked by those that lash out with hate on social media. Right now, we need to look at this life through the lens of kindness and compassion. When lives are threatened, it seems logical that you would want to pull together rather than to continue to use the same old stories, the same old phrases, the same old rhetoric, and lash out again and again in the same previous way. It just amazes me. We are in many types of wars right now in this country. That's really important to understand. We are in a war for sanity. We're in a war for truth. We are in a war for freedom, a war for healthcare, a war for a country that serves its people, a war for fairness, a war for justice, a war for fair wages, a war for a government that actually cares. Nothing like this has ever happened globally before, and it does not matter your race, religion, country beliefs, or personal health perceptions, because a virus does not care about how special you think you are. Just look at how many amazingly talented and gifted people have gotten it and have already died. No one is superior over another for any mentally made-up reasoning. Such mental thoughts only show those who still live in a world of childish, mythological thinking and use it as a false shield to idealistically believe that they cannot be touched or affected by such an event. And while the clear message is one of having compassion for all of humanity, there are those that continue to use this moment to blame and point fingers and that support their prejudices and support them showing that they are special, different, and above the laws of life. When will this shift? Perhaps that shift is an ongoing process of the human condition. And those that understand that and see the potential of this moment are the teachers in this world of duality. While the duality seems very real, it is not. Duality is only real in this reality. There is something that holds this universe together, and that is love. Not a love that is conditional, but one that is limitless in its scope. You are a part of something huge that is happening right now. This is a unique and rare opportunity that has never happened in the history of mankind. This is a pivotal moment. Your choices right now will shape you for eternity. Let go of what you think you know. Let go of that ego that has been weighing so heavily on your soul. Find freedom that comes when you allow the truth to teach you the lessons that are beyond the mind and knowing. The greatest lessons are not those of rational thought, but those of heart and of the care within each that we attend to in the details of this life. Okay. Thanks, everybody. I hope you have a great day and stay in and stay safe.